Guess who's back? Back again. That's the song from the perspective of my beard. It's coming back. I am free to grow, is how it feels. Um, I don't know when I last recorded. Probably before coming to Goodalur. Goodalur. Hmm. Okay. Where do I start? I recorded for like 10 minutes last week, but it kind of. And I was like in a very different headspace a week ago. I guess that's just life. Duh. But a lot of like the things that were happening here were a lot more novel. Now that I've like settled in, I'm able to appreciate kind of the beauty more than just like st- maybe we could talk about that. That's interesting. So when you like experience something for the first time or new, there's intrinsically something beautiful about it because it's something you haven't experienced before. So your mind is kind of at this, oh my god, but everything seems like too great. It's like rose color, like if it's so perfect. And I'm probably still, I mean, it's week two, so it's not like that's gone. But I think over time, what ends up happening is the rose color kind of fades away, and you get to like see it for what it is. It's not, um, your brain's not like firing all these chemicals when you like look at it for what it is. And so you get to really sit with it and be like, damn, this is what this experience is like. And so, even if we look at this 3 week, and remember, no matter how long you're at anywhere, this same process happens. The first, and maybe let's try to break it up into segments. The first segment is this is so new. What can I learn from this? But there's parts in that. So maybe let's just break it down for fun. So the first segment is everything is so new. Oh my God, this is so exciting. At the same time, right before that first segment begins, it's that fear. I'm walking into a new thing. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm really terrified. What if it goes wrong? What if I die? What if I don't like it? What if I'm really uncomfortable? That's like a big one that scares me a lot of times too. Like, what if I just have to deal with uh, the main ones are restroom? Like, what if I just have to deal with a really like kind of just not, which is literally this house, but I'm dealing with it. But you know, how? What if I have to deal with that? What if I have to deal with like a really poor like food situation? Like I don't have access. Remember that one time when I was in uh, Britain, for example, in the middle of nowhere, like I had no food, so I had to walk all the way to this like remote kind of like uh, I don't even know what it was, and they would have like canned tuna. They'd have like that's it, and I would just like make something out of that. And so even then, I had hello cookies there. I made something out of even that little spot. But like, there's things like that that you can be afraid of. Like, what if? Those are the main ones. Honestly, it's usually not like, what if I die? That one honestly doesn't scare me too much. In fact, I probably feel that more in the U.S. than I feel out of it. Um, and so that's like the period before the once you get there. Then you get there, and as soon as you see the reality you have to deal with, the fear stops. Because the fear is the expectation. The fear arises from not knowing. For to me, I have from in my experience of fear, I've understood that fear is the unknown. When you don't know what's gonna happen, your brain conjures all this possible stuff. It could be like that. It could be like that. It could be like that. The thing actually being like that is not fear. Like that doesn't induce fear. Once you've experienced it, it's an experience. You're in the thing. There's nothing to fear. When you're experiencing something scary, it just is. You're not like, oh, I'm afraid of it. It's like it's happening. Your body just reacts to what you need to do when you're in that like fight or flight stage. So once I get to the place, then I like, oh, then all the kind of mystery ceases because you see what the situation is. Okay, this is the bathroom situation. This is my people situation. This is my food situation. This is my animal situation. This is what the animals I got to deal with in the house. Like you figure all that out, and then the fear stops, and then now you have to come into the acceptance phase. Either you accept what you have, you change it by like, okay, for the first week, every day I'm gonna fix one problem. I don't like the toilet, I'm gonna clean it. I don't like my food, I'm gonna go to the nearest grocery store and get all that I need to, so I have a worst case situation. My bed's not nice, I'm gonna fix it. Like you do the fixing stage for the first week or two until you get to a point where you're like, this is a quality that I can sustain. And there's a whole bunch of things in that itself. Like, what does it mean to have like a life quality that you want? That's like your bar. And I think like the lower the bar, the better. But having a bar is maybe useful, maybe not, but we'll see. I mean, that's something else to discuss, this explore. But so okay, so then you go through that phase, and then you've pretty much figure out what what the situation is, and then you start now is the color phase where it's like, oh my god, I can experience this. I can this is opportunity. I think this place is where it's different for many people, and we were having a conversation with this before, and I think it's an important thing when you go from environment to environment. I think the worst thing you can do is try to continue what you were doing in the previous environment in the new environment. Like anytime you move or anytime you change anything about your surrounding, I think the best thing to do is literally erase what existed because it's almost impossible to copy it. But what you can do is look at what you have in front of you and figure out what is the strengths of that environment and then adapt your lifestyle to fit the strengths of that. By trying to fit what used to be into a new situation, I think like that's when you're like, oh, but now I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't do that. And that happens, right? Like, and so that part I think people have different difficulties with, but once you see the place, you identify the strengths, you're like, now you're open to opportunity. Oh my god, I get to experience this now, blah blah blah, the rose color. Then I think what ends up happening is the sucky starts hitting. So you're like, all right, you get hit with the left, you get hit with the right, and then you're like, okay, well now I still see the beautiful stuff, but there's also some sucky stuff, and it just comes with the territory. So you're gonna have your up, you're gonna have that crash. After the crash, after that low crash of like, I missed what I had before, I had this high, and now I no longer feel the high, and I'm scared. Then comes into this like peace, like kind of like stable period for a little bit, and that's usually the middle of whatever experience you're having, where you get to like actually see things for what it is. That's when I think the learning is at the highest, when you get to actually just feel it all. Then towards the end, now it's a new phase. Now it's a goodbye phase. Now it's the ending of this phase. And back to what we were talking about earlier, that fear phase of, oh my God, now I have to leave discomfort. You're going to feel the same feelings. Do I have to leave? Man, let me figure out a way to make this last longer, right? I don't want to leave. Let me try to see how I can stay here for one more week because I'm afraid of the unknown. I'm afraid of what comes. And so then you try to figure out all the ways you can kind of extend that feeling of comfort that you felt at week middle. But you're going to feel that week middle every place you ever go to in your life, from the worst to the best. This same process will exist. The time periods might change, blah blah blah, but the same cycles will exist no matter. And that's one thing I think that's super important. There is no environment where you can escape this process from happening. There's no environment that's just all perfect or all bad. Each place has its own strengths and benefits. The ability to find those, I think, is what's difficult. It's much easier for a place to suck than it is for a place to be great. And I'm not sure why that is, but ask a psychologist. I don't know, but I do think it's easier to find all the sucky stuff about a place and be like, this place sucks for all these reasons, than it is to be like, these places are great for all these reasons, and I can keep that appreciation for the greatness maintained over a long period of time. So I got to Gudalur. I felt this. I'm on end of week 2, so it's about to, by the end of week 3, I'm going to Uti. So kind of feeling that pattern of the third step now, which is the I don't want to leave discomfort. But I think when you like are uncomfortable, it's very easy to go to another situation. Like I'm not super comfortable here, but I'm very comfortable. I made it comfortable, but I'm not like insanely comfortable. Um, but I'm on a scale of, if I had to like pick all the places I've lived, what's the least comfortable I've ever been? The hostel that I stayed at in Maryland wasn't super comfortable. The forest was for sure. I mean, yeah, probably the forest. Living there for 6 weeks was probably the most uncomfortable. Is there more? There definitely is more. I mean, oh, when I moved into DC for the first time and there's a bunch of cockroaches and crickets in the beginning, and then I got diarrhea and then I got super sick. Like that first like 2 3 weeks right after Umar left was not a vibe. That sucked. That was probably, yeah, that sucked. Like in theory, like undergrad living with 3 people in this like little like this size of this room, like 3 people, like that was very uncomfortable. Not even 3 5. I mean, really, if you count Zita and Isabella, that's 5 people in that tiny room. But in my brain, it was, you're free. You don't have to be at home. Like, this is the best thing ever. Like, that's a whole other, interesting brain thing. But I think that's the point. It's really like how you look at it. But that's obvious. I mean, we all know experiences in the brain. I mean, that's not anything new. So yeah, okay, so that's kind of psychologically what this trip has been like. But Gudalur itself, the thing is, I don't want to talk about it because I'm like, I want to talk about it for hours, and I really want to talk about it with Mylan. Like, I want him to like host the Reeducated podcast, and I want to talk about my India experiences. I want to have like a three-piece episode, a three-part series on that, just like talking about, what I learned from the first 2 months being with family about education and just culture, and then what I learned these next 2 months working in Gudalur, and then what I'm gonna learn the next, these 2 months if things work out. Gudalur 1 all, then in Erode with Kanava school, the Kanava School of English. Those three, boom. And then perhaps, I mean, there's going to be the Bangalore part, there's going to be working there, then there's going to be hopefully if I can get to Pune and go to that school, there's going to be that segment, and then there's going to be North. So there's just like different segments of like school, different, kind of segments of education. And so this one, yeah. I just feel like I'm on a long acid trip. I'm like, bro, how am I still in India? Like, this is not ending. Like, I mean, actually, that's actually the best way I can put it. I'm like on a long acid trip that like is not going to end for a while. And so what you end up doing is you just like accept that that's like how you're going to be feeling, like in that state of like, what the heck? What am I doing? And it's been making me think about all of life as one long adventure. And there's just so much to talk about. There's so much to say. It's just like we said this already too. When I feel like I go a long time between video journals, I just feel like I'm doing a disservice to myself by like not being able to like capture what's happened, just because too much has gone by. I also feel like I've been really like out of my element of having these type of conversations or discussions or even really just talking about ideas or I do miss that. I miss being like in. I just want to be talking about these things all the time. Like I want to build environments where that happens, where life is lived to the fullest. Like so, I was just talking to Varsha about this, the One All leader or like founder. Um, there's ego in everything. It's so interesting. Like even as I say founder there, like there's like ego attached to that. Like it's like I talked to the founder. There's ego attached to everything. Like it's so annoying. I just think it's like pointless. Like who cares? Like one of the things I think this entire experience has been is like it's been very humbling and that it's been like just beating my like it's been like giving me Tamil ma. I just damn I can't even say it in English anymore. I feel like I've been talking in Tamil so much like it's uh but also I think like articulating yourself, explaining what's on your mind is something to train. If it's not done all the time, it becomes really hard to just be like this is what's on my mind. Boom. Like uh you kind of become like dull. It just becomes you become kind of just your brain doesn't even function at that level. It's not like a higher level, but it just doesn't function at that like okay, a constant stream of this is what's going on in my brain and it's like a nice smooth flow. It's more just like disjointed like I need to do this and it's more like task oriented. It doesn't give you the space to like think about your thoughts and free form. But being here has been very humbling, I think, in many aspects. I'm just thinking about. I mean, let's talk about ego, shall we? Because I think that one's been like sitting on me more recently. We play this game called Shasan. Sashin. It's like a political game in India. Pretty cool. It's like a Risk. but it's like a Catan. But to get resources, you have to answer political questions, and based on the ideology of which you answered, you get resources for that, and then you have to like buy voters, and then try to win different districts. And eventually, Monish and I came home and we started talking a bit. Monish also is an amazing human being that I live with here. Amazing. This is actually his room. And I don't to charge my laptop in my room is a whole thing, so I come to his room. And we were just talking about. So I was like, okay, when we say we're proud to be, I've already talked about this to other people, so I'm like, don't want to say it again. I'm trying to think which. My whole thing is one thing I want to do as I move forward in my life is like not say anything twice. If I say it one time, then that's how I know I meant it, and I said it in the flow of a conversation. If I say it twice, that to me, what that represents is like I said something that I liked before, and I believe that by saying it again, I will like achieve some sort of thing because it's a planned out thing. It's like it's no longer that free flow. It's no longer like the moment. It's more like I'm concocting this thing to like tell it again so I can get some sort of thing from it. So anytime I'm like repeating, I'm like, do I want to repeat myself? Because I don't enjoy ever saying the same thing twice. Because to me, talking is like a creative process. If I already said it, why would I say it again? Unless, I mean, I'm trying to pass some crucial information. That's a different form of conversation. But especially these video journals is simply to just talk. Like, what is happening in my brain? Can I pull a memory out? Can I, like to let that go? If I've already let it go, I don't need to do it again. Then it's for some other purpose. But I think that's what it's all about, intention, right? I mean, we talk about ego. I think to really look at that ego, you have to look at intention. And that goes with intention why I'm recording this. It goes with the intention of why I'm volunteering. Why am I teaching here? It goes with the intention of why am I traveling in India. It goes into intention of why am I doing anything, right? I mean, it's really looking at the intention, I think, is the best way to put a magnifying glass on the ego. Because every action you do it for a reason. If you understand the reason why you do it, you understand yourself. And so, why am I here? Why am I like we've talked about why I'm recording this multiple times. I even said we there. I mean, has this conformed into something else than it originally was? Perhaps. But I think that's the best way. You know what? I think one of the best learning skills is create something. Create something over a long period of time. And every time you create, or every month, whatever frequency works for you, introspect on why your intention of why you're creating it. It will change over your lifetime, but as that process happens, I think you learn so much about yourself. Like, I'm excited to keep Re-Educated up because I know my intention for why I create that will change so long as I stay alive. I'm interested in doing Re-Educated till I die. I would love to do that. Make $0. I would like to put money into it and make less money. I'm down to do it for the rest of my life. And so I believe my intention for Re-Educated I'm very proud of. The part of me that's a little conflicted is I want to do a lot of work for this education stuff. But there's a part of me that's like, but you want to make money, right? I want to make money. And so as soon as that thought comes up, now you have to kind of contort everything you're doing here with the angle of you need to like align it in such a way that it's profitable in some way. So that includes, talking to people. Oh, I didn't share this. So Anand, let me just shout the names out so I don't 30 years if I watch this, I don't forget the names. Anand is the person who runs, Naveen connected me with Anand. He's the one who does a lot of the stuff here. So Anand is amazing, really just an interesting human being. And then there's my two friends. My brain's just been a little slow today. Chinmay and Akansha. And then there is my friend Fahad. Then there's my friend Monish. And then there's Naveen, who is the person I work with on the coding classes, and not even code, but right now it's tech literacy. And there's Anna, who is the doctor who does all the research at the hospital. Yeah. And so that's kind of like the group here. It's cool that it's cool. It's exciting. I don't know. Europe was cool because I had those few experiences where I made friends like that. I feel like I didn't really do that this first 2 months because I was just with family. But I feel like now I'm like, oh, okay, I made some friends. I connected with all these crazy people all over the world, which is cool. So I'm happy that I eventually ended up happening. I think the first 2 months kind of just like beat my confidence very low, and so I feel like now I gotta like build it back up. Um, just through experiencing things like this, also through developing that sense of like you can do it, you can survive, you can figure it out. Again, I feel like I lost a lot of that just from hearing people always be like you can't do it, you can like putting doubt in your head, and so it's but I'm definitely excited to talk about the school stuff eventually. I have a lot of educational ideas. But ego. So the thing Anand said, nice, good recall. The thing Anand said was, he said two super profound things hella casually on the first day. One was about purpose. Damn, I remember. One was about purpose, and the other one was about this. So I was like working on this data stuff, and I was like, I wanted to like move along with it a little quickly. I was like, I want to start. And he said it was so profound. He was like, listen, you just said this on a different conversation, not as a response to how I was acting, but I took it as like, oh man, that's how I am. You're saying like when you do work for people or when you work with people, what really sticks in someone's head is a relationship that you create with that person. Even if you give someone all the things in the world, but they don't enjoy the way you gave it, they won't appreciate what you have given. But for example, if you have given something much less in quantity and value and utility, but the relationship that was formed in that process was deeper, that means so much more. So when I was like, let's go, let's move on with this, I want to start the work now, he was like, for the first 3, 4 days, I don't want you to work. Just go around in the school, see what's happening, get a feel for the place, get a feel for the villages here, get the feel for the people and the volunteers and the people who work here in the hospital. Understand this environment so you can feel the energy and then create your work through that. Connect with the people. So even today when I was talking to Varsha on the phone, I was kind of like trying to move on the conversation to like, okay, but so what is our plan? What are we going to do, right? But she wasn't even thinking, she was like, someone who's down to sit and talk for 30, 40 minutes is like such a beautiful thing because you're like, I'm not rushed to like get my ideas out. I'm not like, I can just share. What a concept. I haven't felt that in a long time. And so, but I start, which is funny because I started eventually at the 30, 40 minute mark, pushing it towards, okay, well, now let's move it to business. When she never made that push, she was just getting to know me and I was getting to know her. And I think that idea of like focus on the relationship, the other things will come, is a great tactic. What you need to learn then is how to convert it. Because, I mean, that in itself is interesting. Only if there is something to convert. You're not using the person to get something, but there are things that you want done in your life. And so, people help with that. But let's say I want to make a connection and then I take someone out to dinner to make that connection to like, build an idea or something. If I looked up because there's a spider there and I was like, is it moving quick? Some of the spiders here would be really interesting. But when do you move the conversation from like just let me get to know you to business? And I think I remember that Mike and I even just talking about now, Michael Scott does that really well where like he like talks casually and then switches the notch. But here's the point. If you have in your whole time in the casual talk of I need to eventually switch this, I don't think it matters. I don't think even if you're doing all the best small talk in the world or getting to know that person, I don't think it matters. Because the intention is still different in your mind. You're like, it's still strategic. I'm waiting and then I'll switch. My thing is that I think that whole thing has to end. There cannot be any, I'm talking to this person with this need and I want to accomplish this. Just talk to the human. Get to know the person and trust that maybe if things align, that opportunities will open up from that relationship. But don't have that in mind when you talk to someone. I think that's so key. And nowadays, whenever I do something like that, I really take what Anand said, focus on the relationship. I'll like be tired, I'll like want to go do something else, and I'll remind myself, focus on the relationship and talk to him, right? There's a few things I feel like I learned in this one. So Anand said another thing about purpose. He was like, it took me a while to learn that searching for purpose as if it's something that exists in the external is a meaningless chase. So he was like, there's no action that will make my life meaningful. There's no like thing to do. Like, oh, if I do this job, if I do this family, or if I do, then my life is meaningful. It's more about the journey of who you become on the way, which again connects to the relationship. It's an internal thing. He was like, no matter what environment I'm in, so long as I am being the person that I'm striving to be, That in itself is a purposeful action. Then it's not like a thing has to be purposeful for me to like then connect to it. The thing doesn't have the power, the human has the power. I've never heard purpose talked about like that, but I really like that, where it was like, damn, it's not like if I do XYZ job and I drive this car and then my life is meaningful. It's who I am no matter what environment I'm in, whether I'm a janitor, whether I'm a librarian, whether I'm a teacher, whether I'm bedridden, then I am living in a purposeful way. I think is like a just a cool thing. And another thing Mama said again, when you're in a place when you're disagreeing, the thing to tell yourself always, and Mama said this, and I think is really great advice. Tell yourself, not I am right, you are right. Not I am right, you are wrong. Not I am wrong, you are wrong. Always tell yourself you are right, I am wrong. I have started practicing that. It literally just shuts your brain down, and you can just focus on what they're saying. As soon as you get to that, I want to fight, or I want to like, I disagree with you, or I don't listen to what you, I don't like what you're saying. It's making me feel some type of way, or I don't agree with it. Immediately, I just tell myself, I am wrong, you are right. Now let me listen, and it like allows. What is this? Oh, it's a pen holder. It allows you to really just silence your own ego, your brain, and to listen. And so I thought that was really so. Those three have been things that have just been like replaying in my head, and I think have been excellent pieces of advice from two amazing men. And so yeah, I'll get back to talking about Gudalur kind of probably at the end of the entire trip, maybe if I remember it. That's another thing. Hard to ever picture that the current moment you're in ends, even though you know it's ending. It's so hard to like be like, oh, there's gonna be a time where Goodallure is gonna take up maybe 30 to 1 minute of memory space in my head, as opposed to like it being a thing that I'm experiencing. Like to understand that every experience you're having will at one point just be compiled into like a few seconds of memory space in your brain is just hard to imagine because you're like, oh, but I remember every detail right now. Even though it keeps happening to older times, for me, it's just hard to kind of really picture down. But I'm crazy, but I'm really proud of you in general. But I definitely feel like I've like, I think experiencing too much can like leave that little wide eyes in your, on your face. But yeah, I haven't done one of these in a long time, so it feels nice. Okay, I love you. Bye.